Hey there, guys. I'm not normally the type to do a sitting in his car and talking to his audience type guy, but it's very, very windy today, and just feel like I need to have a conversation about what's been going on this year and just kind of the mental funk that it's put me in, and it's affected my channel, obviously, because the productivity on the channel has really dropped off here late summer. As many of you know, if you follow me, I do a fair amount of work in conservation, especially endangered species work, and I've been doing that for the almost 15 plus years. And then with the new administration, all that vaporized essentially in about a 2-month period. There's essentially the entire conservation movement was completely uprooted with federal Department of Government Efficiency DOGE cuts. So I thought, I'm somebody who's always landed on his feet by being flexible. I thought this would be a great time to reinvent myself, to choose a new career path and something that would allow me to continue to do Spilt Milk Productions YouTube and focus on the fisheries that I really enjoy. And today is my birthday. I'm 43 years old, so it's if I'm going to make a change, I need to do it very soon. At least that's what my mindset was. So for a long time, I've dreamed of moving to New Zealand. It's something we've talked about for a long time. New Zealand checks a lot of the boxes that I want in terms of fishing and hunting opportunities and social freedoms. The South Island has kokanee, it has Chinook salmon, both landlocked and anadromous forms. It has amazing trout fishing for rainbow and brown trout and brook trout. It has nearshore tuna, which you can catch in your kayak, and snapper, and the list just goes on. The fishing there is phenomenal. It's not a densely populated place, so it's not super pressured. They have vast areas of public lands which are not under threat of being sold off to the lowest bidder or being overutilized for natural resource extraction. It's mountainous, it's beautiful. It checks so many boxes for me in terms of hunting and fishing. And yeah, on the hunting side, they have elk, white-tailed deer, and a bunch of other species of introduced deer, and you can archery hunt for them year-round without paying permits at all. It's free. They consider them an invasive species. They want them gone. So it's basically year-round hunting, which sounds amazing to me. That sounded all really good. Also, in terms of societal norms, the crime rate there is incredibly low compared to the United States. They have socialized medicine. They have a much more harmonious and less politically divisive climate than the United States. And so in the spring of 2025, I looked into avenues for us to emigrate to New Zealand, and it seemed like the best option for me was to go to school there to become a secondary science instructor, so teach like a equivalent of high school science and mathematics. Those are my strong suits. I love teaching, which is why I'm so good at doing instructive videos on YouTube. And I thought by going there for a year at school, they have a 1-year program that takes people who are changing career paths like I am. And so I applied to several universities. It's very competitive because the programs are very small, because they want to put you in the classroom at several different classrooms across the islands, and they want to immerse you in the Maori culture as well and teach you some Maori language. So all of that sounded really exciting. I got accepted into 2 of the larger universities' teaching programs. I even got, especially University of Canterbury on the South Island, which is where I wanted to be, because that puts me very close to the fisheries that I could keep generating content. They even gave me like an $8,000 scholarship because of my academic experience and research experience and background. They thought, this person's going to be a really good teacher. I had really good references and such. So I thought this was a done deal. I was going to go to school there, get a student visa, which would allow Sidra to get a partner work visa. And then after I graduated, I would have 3 years work visa, post-study to find a job. And that whole time, Sidra could also have a partner work visa And with her background in conservation and ecological restoration, which is what they're doing over there. In fact, New Zealand just seems to be doubling down on conservation, whereas we're just seemingly abandoning it here in the United States. I just thought this was going to work out perfect. We were going to be able to start a new life there. It was going to be exciting, and I could still focus on the same fisheries that I would do at home. I would focus on at home: trout, kokanee, salmon, throw in some offshore or nearshore stuff. I thought it would be great. I was so convinced that this was all going to work out that I started selling off a lot of my fishing stuff, including my ice fishing stuff. And we met with multiple immigration advisors, told them our plan. And critical to this plan was me being able to continue my YouTube channel to finance the time for paying for tuition, but also to provide living expenses while I went to school and while we got rooted in New Zealand. But unfortunately, our advisors all completely forgot to look at it as something that was very important, and that is, as I went through the student visa application process, we discovered that being a YouTuber is considered self-employed in New Zealand, just like it is here in the United States, and it is illegal for student visa holders to be self-employed. So I basically had two options, which was the first option would be to just completely abandon the channel and shut down all of its revenue. And that would include everything from like the sticker sales to affiliate links. I'd have to shut everything down. It would be a massive amount of work even just to abandon it, but it's also abandoning something that's really important to me. So the other option is that we just had to let the dream die, and that's where I'm at. So it was probably the first week of August, last week of July, I discovered that that wasn't going to work out. And that really hit me hard mentally, because I was already like checked out. I was excited for a new chapter, a new adventure in my life, one that was going to give me a career path that, as a teacher, I'd still have more free time in those in between the semester breaks to get out and get content made. And it just seems like no matter where you live on those islands, there's really great fisheries nearby. And so, yeah, I was pretty devastated. And I'm still in that process of mourning, like, the loss of that dream and all the effort I put into it. I mean, I put a ton of time into applications and interviews and research and just getting all that stuff lined up. And, also, like I said, I sold off a bunch of stuff because I was so convinced it was going to work. In the meantime, Sidra and I were still applying for opportunities for ourselves. I've been looking for work, although there's almost nothing in the United States right now for work for biologists. And if there is, you're competing with 5,000 other people who were laid off, who are doing exactly the same thing that you were doing. I have no desire to teach in the United States because of the level of violence in our schools and the design of our education system. Teachers are very restricted and basically are teaching to state exams, that you have very little freedom in the content that you teach, whereas New Zealand doesn't have that at all. They don't have any state structured requirements that you're mandated to teach to. Obviously, there's a core curriculum they want you to focus on, but there's an incredible amount of freedom in terms of course development there. And so the teachers there seem to have a much higher level of satisfaction. And also in the United States, I don't think teachers are well respected, whereas in New Zealand, they still hold a higher level of respect within their society. So I have no desire to teach here, but Sidra, who is currently the assistant wildlife manager for Wells Wildlife Area, they oversee a bunch of wildlife areas in the Brewster to Grand Coulee area, and southwards down towards Ephrata. So they have the Big Bend Wildlife Area, which is a really big one, a new acquisition, and that's where she does the bulk of her work. They have the area around Bridgeport Bar, and then there's some sagebrush areas to the south that Sagebrush Flats, that is home to sage grouse, pygmy rabbits, and stuff like that. But she applied for moving from an assistant manager to a full-time manager of a wildlife area to the east, near the town of, not really near a town of anything. It's somewhere near Creston. the Creston, like Davenport area. And she was awarded that job. And so that became Plan B. So we found out about her promotion, which is great. I mean, she's going to be a great land steward for that land there. It's all sagebrush, grasslands, and riparian areas, and that's her specialist. And that's what she specializes in, managing and restoring. She's really good with that, and she'll be a great steward. And I know those lands and the wildlife there will flourish underneath her guidance and management. But yeah, so there's like the housing market sucks. Rentals are stupid expensive and super restrictive, and there's almost nothing to buy. And we started shopping in August and just found that a lot of those rural communities are very restrictive on what you can do with your own property. And so we quickly discovered we just don't want to live in town, because I mean, it seemed just stupid to me to spend $250,000 to $500,000 to essentially have no ability to do what you want with your own piece of land. And we garden, we have chickens, we raise meat birds. That food independence is a super important part of our life. And it just seems like even in rural communities, they want you to be dependent on like the mass produced food chain, which is just not my thing. It's not our thing. We just see too many vulnerabilities in our food production system in the United States. It kills people. It makes people sick. The prices just keep going up astronomically. It's not sustainable. And the less I'm a part of that, the happier I am. And I know Sidra is too. So we're in the process right now of trying to find a little piece of earth in this country that we can carve out to be our own outside of city limits, where we can have a well, clean water, and land to do what we want with, and space for privacy and independence and freedom. And so that's where we're at. So my life ended up being completely consumed by boxing up our life, our house that we'd been living in for almost 8 years. And I just had no time between that and shopping and for a new home and new properties, which has been really stressful and unpleasant. And then I'm also, if you look behind me, there's a canyon here. This is the Cutbank Creek Canyon. This is where I work seasonally on a wind energy project. So I was also prepping to leave Washington for a few months for my annual work out here. But also at the same time, like I'm still just like grieving for the loss of a dream. I mean, I'm still also very excited about finding a place to call our own, and making a garden, making a big chicken coop, and settling into a little patch of earth that will be ours to take care of, to be good stewards of, and for that little patch of earth to give back to us. So bear with me. I'm like not in the best place mentally, and I'm just really tired, and I think that's just mental fatigue. But I will be getting content coming back out here as I have free time here in Montana, and there's some just amazing trout fisheries here and walleye, and I plan on making some trips up into Canada to chase bull trout and things like that. So I also just want to say a huge thanks to all those who have reached out of concern and continue to support me. I really appreciate it. It's very meaningful to me. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Just remember, fish smarter, not harder. Bye.